This is RJ, and on this video I'm going to show you how to create or set up your API keys inside your AGM theme. So if you don't know how to navigate to your API key settings, just go to your Auto Lead Importer tab inside your WordPress dashboard. So you can find it in here and click Settings. So here you'll find a window that shows all the steps you need to do to restrict your API or to how to create it. So basically there are two ways to restrict them, and let's go ahead and uh, set them up. So first what we're going to do is to just create an API key first. So we go to our Google console, and if you don't have any project yet, you have to create a new one. So in my case, I'm going to create a new totally project. So I'm going to name it my directory site. So you can name it after your domain mail. It's up to you. So this is just for you to make sure that you are using the right project. So I'm going to go ahead and create it. Okay, as soon as the project has been created, just select the project. So you can see on your upper left browser, you can find that you are on the right project that you just recently created. Then we go to credentials, make sure that there are no keys. So if this is a new site, there shouldn't be any keys. So let's go back to library and let's enable each of the APIs that we need. So let's go ahead and start with Maps JavaScript API. You can use this search bar on top of the browser. Just type in the Maps JavaScript. Then you can find this, enable it. Okay, so as you can see, the Maps JavaScript is now on the top of the enabled APIs. The upper top would be showing the APIs that you just recently or that are enabled. Then go back to library and search for another one, which is the Places API. You can type in Places API. And same step, just enable it. Okay, so now we have two APIs. Last API would be the geocoding API. So make sure that this is geocoding because some members are enabling a wrong one, which is geolocation. So what we need is the geocoding. So this is the last API that we need to enable. Remember that these are the only three APIs that are required for the Auto Lead Importer to work, as well as the map inside your AGM theme. So now that we have these three APIs enabled, we go to Credentials tab and make sure that all Google Maps platform APIs are selected, and then create credentials. And now we have the keys. Okay, so this is the first key that we need. We're going to paste it to the back end. Remember that this is the first way, or the not so tight security way of creating the API keys. So now we're going to name it API key 1. So what we're going to do is to just restrict the key, but only with the API. So we're only going to restrict it with maps, places, and geocoding. So once you have selected these three APIs, we are okay with it. So this is the first way, only restricting the APIs. And you can basically just use this API key in order for the Auto Lead Importer and maps to work. So But first, you need to make sure that your billing is actually connected to your project, or else it's not going to work. So how to view if your billing is connected? Just go to your billing dashboard, check your manage billing account, and this is what it would look like if you have connected and activated or set up your billing account. It would show the status that your billing account is active and your billing account has a connected project on it. So let's go back to our recent project, which is my directory site. And now, basically, this is the first step, just to make sure that your maps and API auto lead importer are working. So you can just copy and paste and use it inside in both back end and front end. So you can stop from there. If you're okay with that, then just use the same API key for your back end and front end. But if you want to restrict further, we're gonna have to go to the next step. So you can just skip this step if you don't want to restrict it further. Okay. Right. So, but I'm gonna show you how to restrict it further by restricting the IP address and also the domain. Okay. So remember when we created only one API key, we just name it API key. That's fine. But if we want to restrict it, we have to name it backend. So we're going to set up the backend key first. So backend key is restricting the IP address, right? So what is IP address? It's in here, right? So how do you get the IP address? You can go to whois.com and also the DNS lookup. So this DNS lookup is for the IP address. So if you don't know your IP address, just go to what is my IP and DNS lookup. Make sure you copy and paste or type in this correct domain name, and then copy your domain, your URL, paste it in there. In my case, this is my URL. Look it up, and there you go. You'll get your IP address once you look up your domain. So in my case, this is my server IP. I'm gonna copy and paste it. And now we are going to restrict it by IP addresses and add an item, paste the IP address in there. And that's restricting the IP address. So we're not gonna touch the original restriction on the APIs. We're gonna do it the same. So now we have the API key for backend, which is restricting the IP address. Now we're gonna create another credentials. We're gonna copy it, and we're gonna name this one as the front end. So as you can see, we need a back end and a front end API keys. So for the front end, what we're gonna do here is to restrict it exclusively for your domain. So we're gonna name this API key to front end, but this one we are going to select HTTP refers, and what we're going to do is to put our domain here. So if you're unsure what's your exact domain, you can go to your Whois. You can go to this domain and search up what is your default domain. So I'm just going to show you how the Whois works. Just enter your domain URL, just search it up, and then search it. So in my case, this is my domain, webdevelopment11.com, because it's just the reason why I have testing at the end of my URL is because this is a test site, and is the root directory that I'm using is has a testing folder. Okay, so that's why you need to go to Whois to make sure the domain, the root domain that you are using. So in my case, my root domain is webdevelopment11.com. It doesn't have a root folder or path URL at the end. So what we're gonna add is this slash and asterisk followed by slash and asterisk to your domain. So just follow what I'm doing in here. Put a slash and asterisk, then done, and make sure that you have the right application restriction. This one is HTTP refers. Okay, so we're gonna follow the same thing. We're gonna follow restrict the three API keys that we enable. Same thing. So this is going to be our front end key. Okay, so now we have a front API key 1 and API key 2. So the API key 1 being the IP address restricted, and then the other one would be the domain restricted API key. So make sure you don't mix this up. That's why it's important to name them with front end and back end. So if you have uh, these key, you have to paste it inside it's either in your API key settings in your auto lead importer, or you can go and do this in your general settings. If you are only going to use the API key for your map, you can just go to general settings. But if you want to use the keys for auto lead importer as well as the map, it's better to paste the API key and API keys to your auto lead importer at the settings level. If you have done this in here, you don't need to do it in the general settings. So I recommend that you just paste it in the auto lead importer settings. So as you can see, the map is now working. And yeah, pretty much that's it. That's all you need to do with the API key settings. So remember to name each of the API key so you won't get mixed up with the API key main backend and API key optional front end. So the reason we have this optional is that if you don't want to restrict your API key, let's say you want to use the API key for multiple domains, so you don't need to follow the optional part. You can just use the API key for both of your domains. So some members are using just one API key for their multiple domains, but some members that has a multiple directory site are using different keys for different domains so that they can track the usage of their API keys of which domain is actually eating up more triggers, or like having a more usage when it comes to API. So basically the last step that I showed you is just an optional. So you can just stop at generate at the step 5, which is the generating API key, and restricting only on this 3. So the last step are just optional if you want to restrict it with the IP address and also with the domain. The reason why we had this is that to control the usage of your API key, and also to prevent unwanted usage of your API key. So even if they have your API keys, if let's say hackers or whoever actually has a phishing site successfully got your API key, that API key will be useless to them because it has a restriction to your IP address and to your domain only. So that is the advantage of having a further restriction to your API key. But beyond that, that's actually there is. So also make sure the billing account is set up and connected to the project. That is actually the main or the frequently mistake of the members when creating API, because they're actually skipping the billing part. Okay, so the billing account is important in Google Console. If you don't have the billing, then the Google Console will not work, or any of those steps that we did is not going to work, because you need to have a billing account in order for you to use the Google API. So this is how actually Google wants it. Before, they don't need the billing account, but now that because we're using their API, we need to have a billing account just in case we go over the limit of the credit of Google. So basically, Google are giving away credits, monthly credits. So it depends. If you're like scraping too much APIs, then yeah, you will be billed. But if not, I mean, within the credit, the target usage, then you don't have to worry about your billing. So that would be all. Thank you very much for watching this video and have a great day.